So one more thing I want to talk about. I keep forgetting to take my headphones off now. It's gonna take me a second to get used to now that I'm using remote play as the PlayStation screen on stream now. So Final Fantasy 16 got released, or not released, it got shown off. And I said on the podcast before that I am cautious. You know, I see things that I like. I see a few things that I like. I'm actually just going to take this straight off here. I see a few things that I do like about it. I love the fact that it's going to a more medieval route. Kind of almost feels like it's going back to its roots. They mentioned the crystals. The battle system looks like it could be a little bit improved. I hope more often than not that the story is what's really improved, because that was 15's fault. That was its major fault. The world was really cool. I like the traveling. Soundtrack was really good. The battle system was all right. It's still a little just hit this button over and over again and just keep moving. Like it wasn't that great, but I think they can make it better. And obviously, if they have the proper amount of time to build a game, especially if they don't rush it out the door like 15 was, because they kept changing their mind on what they wanted it to be. It was supposed to be Final Fantasy versus 18 verses or something like that. So if they're taking the proper time of making this game, I think pretty easily they will do what they need to do. And I'm not worried about that part. But what I am worried about is that Square has just had a really bad track record, at least in my opinion. This is my personal opinion. They have not been that great when it comes to games recently. The last truly enjoyable one, and I'm talking like masterpiece level enjoyment, is 10 for me. Or even 10-2 if you really want to go that way. Because I think 10-2 is just a fun Final Fantasy game. It's not a great Final Fantasy game, but it's a fun one. 12 is okay. 13 I don't want to talk about, and 15 I would have said good things about, and then the second half of the story kicked in and it's an absolute fucking mess. So going into what I saw from 16, I said, okay, that's a cinematic trailer. The gameplay might be there, but again, there's no HUD, so I'm not seeing anything that tells me that it's gameplay. It could also be changed really quick. So I'm very, very cautious with this. I'm not confident that Square Enix knows how to make a good Final Fantasy game anymore. In fact, I'm still very upset that these guys can't just realize that what a lot of people just want is for them to go back to the ATB system. That's what I really want. I want the ATB back. And if that means something outside of Final Fantasy, or if it's a side game, if it's not a numbered game anymore, then that's fine. I can take that. But I want an ATB game again, because those were the good ones. That was the last good memories. And I know I'm playing on the nostalgia part of things a bit. I know that I'm kind of being like, well, it hasn't been good since this. Fine. But a lot of people try to tell me that 13 is good. A lot of people try to tell me that 15 is a great game. I disagree. I don't think that Final Fantasy has been at its best since Final Fantasy X. That is my personal opinion. So for 16 to come out and just show me a cinematic trailer, I've seen people being like, oh my god, it's back. Final Fantasy's back at its glory. And I go, how? We're not back to ATB. And we sure as shit don't seem if we're back for a good story, because Final Fantasy has been really bad with stories lately. Now, 14 is a good online game, but I don't count the online games because they're not the same. I'm talking single-player Final Fantasies here. Square has really lost their touch, in the same vein that BioWare has lost their touch. I don't know if I trust Square with this game. I don't know that when it comes to launch that I'm going to even remotely entertain the idea of pre-ordering it, let alone getting it close to launch. There is a very good chance that I don't touch this game for months to maybe even years. And that should never be a Final Fantasy game to me. Final Fantasy, as you can tell by the shelf here on this specific side, how I have a Yuffie, Riku, and Selphie on the shelf. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I own 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 2, and that's it, because the rest of them I got rid of because I don't want to support them. I don't think they're good enough. If I could own all the originals, I would. But I don't see the point because I don't own an original console, and I don't really have the money to be going around spending on consoles I won't really turn on. I'm not the collector. But I am, through and through, a Final Fantasy fan, albeit a pessimistic one at this point. And I don't see anything in that trailer that makes me go, holy shit, they're back. What I see in that trailer is, okay, maybe things are changing. Maybe things are changing. But I need to see gameplay. I need to see more story. and I need to see reviews because I don't think there's anything that game can do, especially now that it's not gone back to ATB, that will not make me buy it at day one. Certainly not even like the first couple of months. I will need to see reviews to know if this game is actually going to be worth it. Because at this point, Square has shown to me that whatever they used to have back in the day, that sauce is gone, or the recipe has just changed, and it's not what it used to be. And I'm not that interested anymore. So we'll see how that goes. But I hope that it ends up being good. I really do. I want Final Fantasy to go back to its roots. I want it to go back to being my favorite franchise. Hasn't been in almost 20 years. Persona filled that void. Mass Effect filled that void before BioWare screwed that up. And now the Trails of Cold Steel series is filling in that void. Albeit it's going to have to wait because Cyberpunk's already pre-ordered. So sorry, Trails 4, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, which is, it's hurting me inside. Quite a lot, actually. But Final Fantasy has not been at its best, in my opinion, since 2001, and I don't think this game automatically does it. I just have to hope and cross my fingers that this time will finally be that time. But until then, I'm not holding my breath.